Why is it that consistency is so hard for us men? If we need to do something, we know that the consistency will pay off. We know the outcome, but yet it's such a struggle for us to stay consistent. Hey guys, welcome back to the Anchor Show. My name is Andrew, and today I am going to be looking at why is it so difficult for us to be consistent. Okay, so what is consistency? Let's start there. All right, consistency is the act of staying true to a project or a mission or something of anything that you set out on doing. Consistency is the act of staying true to that task until your goal or mission has been accomplished, right? That is a simple layman's term of what it means to be consistent. So if you say that for the next 6 months, I am going to run every morning, Monday through Friday, no matter what, as long as I am physically able to do so, I am going to run. And you get up one morning on a Monday morning and it's raining, and because you've committed to being consistent, you either wait for the rain to taper off or you go running in the rain. That's what it means to be consistent. You didn't make excuses to say, oh, well, it's raining today and it's a little bit cold, so I'm going to just stay in. No, you commit to the once per day, Monday through Friday. That's what it means to be consistent. But let's be honest, fellas, it is a struggle for some of us. I mean, it's a struggle for people in general, but us men, it is a struggle. Why? Right? Why is that? Right? Okay, so let's look at some of the reasons why consistency is such a struggle. One of the main reasons why consistency is a struggle is because of lack of results or lack of fast results. What do I mean by that, right? Say, for example, you're on a weight loss mission, right? You said you want to drop, 20, 30 pounds, right? That's your mission. That's your goal. And you know what it takes. You've made the adjustment to your diet and you've added exercise as part of your daily routine. You set out on working out 4 days out of the week. So doesn't matter which days, but you know for a fact 4 days out of the week you are going to exercise for 30 minutes, right? That is your mission. You've adjusted your diet, you're doing well with that, and you've committed to working out. You start out week 1, it's a little bit hard. You're training your body to develop a new routine, a new set of habits, right? So it's a little bit hard, but you get over that hump. Week 2, things are getting just a little bit easier, right? By week 3, this is now officially a part of your routine, right? You're now comfortable, you're feeling good, and you're enjoying what you're doing, right? Week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. Here you are still trying to stay the course, right? But you're not getting any results. You step on the scale and you've only lost 2 pounds. You've adjusted your diet. Your caloric intake have been lowered. You changed some of the things you're eating. You're working out 4 days a week. You've only dropped 2 pounds after 5-6 weeks. That's discouraging. That's demoralizing. That's discouraging, right? You just want to quit at that point because it's like, oh my God, all this work that I put in and only 2 pounds, right? That's one of the reasons why consistency is so difficult, because when we don't get the results that we desire instantly or in a short period of time, then we start to develop disinterest and we start to become discouraged, right? And then with those feelings of being discouraged, if you act upon them, then you start to fall off. So now you went from working out 4 days a week to only doing once or twice. And what does that do? It amplifies the lack of result that you were already getting, because now you've reduced the amount of times you're working out. Naturally, you're going to see less result, right? Naturally, you're not going to get the results that you desire. So that's one of the challenges of being consistent, is not getting the results that we desire fast enough. But is that because of unrealistic expectations? Is it because of unrealistic expectation? It might be. That's something that we should look at. We should be looking into, because you have this expectation that by X time you're going to be able to achieve this goal, but it didn't happen, and so you get discouraged and you quit. That is reason number one why consistency is so difficult. Another reason why consistency is so difficult sometimes is because of societal pressure, right? Depending on what it is that you're doing, if there's a societal pressure and expectation on you, right, it takes away your ability to be human. What do I mean by that? Okay, on this particular day, you wake up really not feeling it, just completely out of it, right? But because there's this societal pressure and expectation on you to show up no matter what, you're not given that space and time to say, you know what, today I'm taking a day off. Today I'm taking a mental break. Today I'm taking a me time. Today I'm just going to, I know it goes against my goals that I set forth, but I'm taking this time and this day for me, and I'm not doing anything, right? The societal pressure and expectation remove that ability for us to be human. You're not gonna get up every day feeling it, and I get it. Yes, not to contradict myself, to be consistent means you're still gonna do it even when you don't feel like it. Yes. However, there's exception to the rule. There's exceptions to the rule. There are times when you just won't be able to do it. Say, for example, you're not feeling well, and let's say this has something to do, your goal has something to do with you being physical. You wake up and you're actually physically not feeling well. You can push through that, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to be wise, I'm going to be smart today, and I'm going to take it easy for today, right? Because if I sit it out for today, recoup my strength and energy, then I'll be able to continue tomorrow and make up for it, right? Think about it like this. If you're an athlete and you have a slight injury, you have two choices. You either ignore that injury and try to push yourself and play in a big game and hope that nothing further happens, or you either tell the coach, hey coach, I have this knock or whatever, and to be safe, I would rather sit this one out so that I can get over the situation fully before committing and then possibly worsening this injury and keep me out of the game for several weeks rather than one game. That's what that looks like, right? So yes, it pays to be consistent at whatever it is that we're doing, but sometimes it makes sense to take a pause, right? Another reason why sometimes it's difficult to be consistent is that we lack accountability. We lack self-accountability, and we also lack like a external accountability, right? So if we're doing something and we have our goal set forth, right? Again, going back to the workout, weight loss goal, right? We said we know that we need to adjust our diet, and we know that we need to work out at least 4 times per week, right? But if you don't hold yourself accountable, in making sure you're doing these things, it's going to become difficult, right? And that accountability is being able to look yourself in the mirror and like, hey, bro, you said you was going to do 4 days a week. You've only been doing 2. Is that okay? Are you staying true to yourself? Right? So self-accountability, being able to look yourself in the mirror and hold yourself accountable for the actions that you've taken or didn't take that you should have taken, right? And then if you don't have other people around looking at you to say, hey, you said you was going to work out 4 times. You only worked out twice this week. What's going on, right? That also makes it sometimes difficult, right? Because let's be honest, we shouldn't need cheerleaders, but sometimes we do. Everybody's made different. There's a group of men who can do what they need to do without cheerleaders, without people clapping them on, without people, validating them. But then there's others who need that validation, who need that cheerleader, who need that push, that motivation. Hey, keep going. You're doing great. Good job. I see what you're doing. Keep it up. There are those who need that, right? And so the absence of an accountability partner and the absence of self-accountability makes it difficult to be consistent. Similarly to the first point that I made, is that we are wired to embrace and appreciate results over process, right? That's what makes it so hard to be consistent. We are wired for the results, right? And so the process becomes a burden. It becomes a major challenge that is so difficult for us. And, we fall short because of the programming and the wiring for results over process. And let's be honest, man, a lot of times we don't realize that the journey is more important than the actual outcome. We don't realize that in a lot of situations, the journey is far more important. It brings more satisfaction than the outcome. The process does, right? It's like, think about it, right? For those of us who've served in the military and you've gone through boot camp, right? The graduation day is not the biggest thing that you celebrate. Not for me. I don't look back on like, oh man, graduation, it was such a great day. No, I look back on the process that I went through. When I'm talking to people about, things that I experienced and I'm telling stories, it's never about graduation day. It's never about the completion. The goal going in was to graduate and to move on, right? That was the goal. But the process, all the different challenges and events that you were taken through, the different experiences, that's what matters. So oftentimes we miss the things and the value that comes out of a process because we're fixated on the results. And that's the reason why it's hard to be consistent, because if you're only fixated on the results and the result is not happening fast enough, then you're going to be discouraged. The last point that I'll make on why it's so difficult to be consistent is our inability to manage emotional dips, right? Because consistency requires you to push through almost every and any circumstances that you're experiencing, we are 100% going to have emotional dips in this process. You are going to have those emotional dips. You are, right? Anybody who have gone through rigorous process, military training or just anything that requires that a lot out of you, right? You are going to have emotional dips. You are going to have days when you're probably going to break down and cry like a little baby because the process is so difficult. It's so challenging. It's so, demanding. Men typically don't know how to deal with those emotional dips, right? Part of that has to do with some of us inability to regulate our emotions, right? If you lack emotional intelligence and emotional awareness, then you don't really know how to regulate your emotions. And that lack of ability to regulate your emotions, to process them and to regulate, can lead you in a place and a mental space where you just want to quit. You just want to give up. You want to throw in the towel. And that makes it difficult for you to remain consistent, right? You have those low moments, those low points, and instead of processing them, working through them, and eventually overcoming them, and then be able to continue pushing forward, you just throw in the towel. Nope, not doing this no more. No, not doing my 50 reps that I said I was going to do. I'm only going to do 10 or 20, right? So these are the reasons why consistency for us can be so difficult and challenging, all right? And how we get over that, the first thing that we must know, this is number one, right? You must know. Consistency is not about perfection. Get that out of your mind. It's not about perfection. It is not about perfection. Other people will tell you otherwise. And you know what? Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But think about this. Consistency is not about perfection. Perfection looks like this. I am going to work out 5 days, Monday through Friday, for 30 minutes every week for the next 6 months straight, no exceptions. That's perfection. And you do it, right? You do it. You do it without fail. No matter what. Your leg's broken, you're still working out. You wake up with the flu, you're still working out. That's perfection. Let's compare that to consistency. You said for the next 6 months, you're going to work out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, for 30 minutes, right? You have some weeks when, for one reason or the other, you were only able to work out twice. You were only able to work out 3 times. That's consistency. Why? Because you took steps forward. You worked out. You didn't stop. You didn't completely just stop and quit and gave up. You still showed up. You still worked out. You still kept moving forward. You may have fell short just a little bit, but you still took steps to progress you forward. That's what consistency looks like, not perfection, right? And so we sometimes misconstrue consistency with perfection, and when we fail to be perfect, then we feel like a total failure. Then we feel like, we are failures. Then we feel like we didn't achieve our goals, right? And that's not what it's about, right? It's like, I watch this show called Naked and Afraid, right? And the basic one is 21 days. So they're in the wild, no clothes, 21 days, no food, no water, nothing. They're given basic tools like a pot and knife, maybe a fishing line, whatever. And they're expected to survive for 21 days, right? They're expected to find food and all that and survive for 21 days. Now, some people make it to 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, 19, 20 days and gave up before the 21 days. And some of them beat themselves up like an absolute failure. But let's ask yourself this question. How many people in this society can go live in some wild wilderness with wild animals who's looking to eat you and survive for 21 days without food, without water? You have to find your own food and water. How many people can do that? That's not failure. If you left on day 10, day 11, day 12, whatever the case might be, that's not failure. That's not failure. You may have came up short. That's not failure. Perfection is you making it to 21 days, right? But consistency is you surviving day after day after day after day until you get to a point where you could not go any further. And that's okay. At the end of the day, we're humans, right? Let's not dehumanize yourself or ourselves, right? At the end of the day, we are humans. As long as you're taking a step forward, that's what matters. All right. So once again, guys, I hope that you did take some value from this one today. As always, let us continue to grow, evolve, and transform into the best version of ourselves. Peace.